I've been talking about long-term benefits to investing in early childhood. There's certainly short-run benefits from having a high-quality child care system. A high-quality child care system allows parents to enter the workforce. It reduces absenteeism because child care arrangements are sound. That is, parents aren't worried about where their kids are during the day. Those arrangements don't fall through the cracks. It helps reduce also turnover. And also economic development offices are finding that companies are interested in the availability of high-quality child care in regions that they're looking at moving their companies. Now, their primary concern is on surveys is the availability of workforce to begin with, but they are beginning to ask more frequently about the availability of child care. So what are some of the lessons learned from the research that I've shared with you in terms of investing? The first is the importance of investing in quality. That is, in center-based programs, having teachers who are well-trained, that you have relatively low ratios of children to teachers, and using a research-backed curriculum. The importance of involving parents. That is, all of these programs, even center-based programs where children might be 40 hours a week, the importance of having those programs involve parents in activities at the centers, reaching out to them, sharing information about developments in their children as they are at the center. Starting early. The research shows that when we think about investing in young kids, it's prenatal through kindergarten, not just a year of preschool before children go to kindergarten, but that whole time period. Reaching the at-risk population on a per-child basis will achieve the highest rate of return. This is where we can address issues that children have very early, and when we intervene early, it's less expensive and more effective than interventions that happen later in that child's time in school. And bringing to scale. That is, while we have many programs that are out there that we can see a list of, such as Head Start and Louisiana's own preschool investments, there are still a number of children on waiting lists that could benefit from investments in high-quality preschool, child care, health and nutrition, and home visiting. So moving forward, and this is to really set up our conversation and our Q&A as we move forward about the type of investments to be made. I'll speak generally about some of the high-level investments that have demonstrated a strong return and effectiveness on helping young kids. The first is prenatal and early home visiting programs such as the Nurse-Family Partnership, where registered nurses go into homes, or well-trained professionals go into homes working with expectant at-risk mothers. Access to health care. Having children being able to access health care is very important, and especially with pregnant women, that they have access to all of the care that they have before birth. Parent education opportunities, whether this happens, as I mentioned before, in coordination with center-based programs, but also through home visiting programs, classroom-based programs that bring parents together to help them network with each other as well. Quality child care, such as Louisiana's quality child care rating system. Programs such as our child care rating system provides information to families and parents about how to shop for and identify high-quality child care arrangements. These systems also provide support for programs so that they can move through that rating system so that they can improve their child care. Very similar to, let's say, a rating for hotels. Here it's an easy way for parents to identify the quality of programs and be able to ask questions at those programs about their curriculum. What are the qualifications of the teachers? And not just the cost of the program, its location and hours. And finally, providing access to preschool. So parents have options to be able to send their children to a preschool setting before they go on to kindergarten. The last thing I'll talk about is an investment made in Minnesota. It was very innovative and was inspired by a group of business leaders. I'll first note that business leaders in Minnesota came together and self-organized around early childhood back in 2004. They created a group first that was called Minnesota Business for Early Learning. They were inspired by the return on investment research that was being published by the Federal Reserve, but they're also very concerned about some school readiness surveys by kindergarten teachers in Minnesota, which showed that only half of children in Minnesota were fully prepared to succeed in school. Of course, this is disconcerting to Minnesotans because, after all, Garrison Keillor points out that all the children in Minnesota are above average. So here it is, only half the kids are prepared to succeed in school. So they came together and they asked themselves, well, what are some things that we can do as business leaders around this issue? Well, they identified 3 areas. The first is to advocate among their peers in the community about the importance of investing in early childhood. The second is to identify best practices that businesses can put into their own policies for parent employees. That is, providing flexible work schedules where possible, also providing a dependent care, a child care tax credit, making that a benefit available to their employees who are parents, and also even bringing in a parent educator, sitting down and being able to have a session with parents about early childhood development. And lastly, they got involved in public policy. They decided that they would form what's called the Minnesota Early Learning Foundation that includes CEOs and retired CEOs of companies such as Best Buy and Cargill, General Mills, very large companies up in the Twin Cities area. One of the projects that they invested in is a scholarship pilot that was a proposal that Art Rolnick and I wrote about a few years ago. Beginning in 2008, scholarships were made available to children at ages 3 so that they have access to high-quality preschool opportunities in the private sector and in the public sector, either full day or half day, and they could attend this high-quality program for 2 years before going on to kindergarten. And this was targeted at low-income families in 2 neighborhoods in St. Paul. The program was also aligned with home visiting. So expectant at-risk mothers and families with young babies received a home visiting component. So you had a continuum of services and outreach to low-income families, beginning prenatal all the way through receiving the scholarship time until kindergarten. And the evaluators have been able to watch this program over the past few years and have been able to show that, first of all, when you provide scholarships that are priced at a level that really provides resources to programs to provide a high-quality program, that more programs either move into that area or programs decide to get rated and become high quality. So there's been a 50% increase in the number of openings that are available in high-quality programs in this study area. Second, parents have been more inspired to be connected with their children's education by volunteering and participating in activities at the center. And lastly, early evidence shows that children's development scores have improved during their time in the program. So not only has this program been just one example of how business leaders have helped move the agenda forward up in Minnesota, it's evidence that we see around the country. When business leaders come to the table and advocate for early childhood, it tends to move that agenda forward. My final slide here, I'm not expecting you to read that. A bunch of references that you can get these slides on the website later. And finally, our own website, minneapolisfed.org. So thank you very much.
People across Louisiana need to know that investing early does pay off. And so all of us have our share, particularly the private sector and our corporations, our businesses, need to know that the investments that they make in human capital, in our children, and investing very early, do pay off for economic development and workforce development. And so it's important to start now and make these investments in our human capital.
Statewide, I think it's important for the community to be involved in public education. If public schools are going to be successful, and I think it's vital that they are, the community really needs to get behind it and support it. And that's everybody, that's parents, that's the business community. Everybody needs to get behind it, and I think if that happens, the communities will be better off, the public schools will be better off. I just think it's important that everybody pulls together around this important issue.